Did you actually hit repeat? No, it's just me. I'm doing the intro, but I'm doing it with in real time. That's real time versus video.
Quite the performance.
That's amazing.
Good morning, MugClub and non-MugClub, everyone out there on YouTube, because it's a MugClub quarantine month, so we're giving away everything for free this month.
Yes, sir.
If you've enjoyed this, if you've enjoyed spending your time with us, go to loudwithcreditor.com/MugClub, enter in the promo code quarantine, and you get $30 off.
That's a big deal.
This is the last week.
It is.
Last week.
And it's going to culminate in the live stream on Thursday, a few hours, but we were going to do the press briefing and then fact check CNN. Turns out they might not do the press briefings
That's
anymore.
what I hear.
Really?
I don't know. I think you should keep doing them.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun.
Do it
I noticed,
anyways.
are you okay with your headphones
I'm
over there?
good,
Here?
man.
I'm hearing a little bit of echo in here. Is that Pops Crowder's mic isn't on yet, is it?
always
Okay, all right, good. We have Papa Crowder's going to be in here a little bit later. We're going to be talking about a couple of things, namely that Corona is not a hoax, at all.
No. Sure.
But you were hoaxed by the media.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of you. We'll be talking about Joe Biden and all the rape. All the rape stuff with the Joe Biden, and then more important,
right into
is
it, aren't we? Ah.
the cover-up of the rape.
That would be
Because you know what they
That's
say
really
about
the story.
rape.
What
The
do they
worst
say?
thing about the rape is it's the actual rape, but then the second worst thing is if
that's
they
true.
lie about the rape.
Right.
Is the cover-up.
That's a very common saying.
Yeah.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
Not on a bumper sticker.
With
but
Joe Biden, the hypocrisy is pretty bad,
It is.
but the rape was worse.
Yeah.
Are any of us surprised?
And by the way, you can subscribe, of course, iTunes, Android, anywhere podcasts are sold or not sold. And Crowder Bits is available on YouTube right now for a little
Hilarious.
extra clips.
Love
Hit
it.
that bell.
Of course, live chat only for MugClub members. If you're watching there at the BlazeTV right now, we will be reading some chats later.
Put your name. Put
You
your
guys
name.
all have a good weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a great weekend.
I did.
Such a good weekend.
Great weekend. Had allergies, though.
Oh, wow. So
Allergy attack,
you said you had a
yeah.
great weekend, but the first thing you mentioned is allergies.
Yeah, I'm saying I
I had a
powered
great
through.
weekend.
I powered through.
I went down to Pikachu Peak.
What?
That's a place in Arizona. It scared me. Ever told you this? Anyone knows this? It's out
Scary
by
place.
the Red Rocks in Arizona. One time I was driving across the country from Los Angeles to Texas.
Yeah.
There's a place called Pikachu Peak, I think. It's like, it looks just something like prehistoric.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's a little gift shop at the bottom down there.
Okay.
And I went in and they had scorpions and lollipops. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a giant lollipop with a scorpion that you can eat. And the
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if, does anyone actually eat these? I hadn't seen the owner of the store. I swear to God, he turns around. He's missing an eye. He goes, well, it takes one with a brass pair, kid. He was a veteran who lost his eye in Nam.
Oh, wow.
Sir,
Reminds
was
me.
very nice, very friendly, but if the
Terrifying.
owner of the novelty shop right underneath, and there's nothing for miles, Pikachu
Yeah.
Peak is still, I would love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Did he have a
Well,
patch?
and call in. Has he not heard of strawberry? I mean, come on. Let's get a normal.
I think it was strawberry,
Oh,
and then
okay.
there was a scorpion in the lollipop.
Well, never mind. That's much
It's
more
in the
normal.
middle. I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
they
you,
put
did you end up
bugs-
eating it?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not a psychopath. Why would I eat a lollipop
Yeah.
With a scorpion?
with a
Because
scorpion
you're in
in it?
Arizona. That's why.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. CNN, we're going to live check CNN a little bit. Let's see what they have going on there with, what's her name?
Option for
Brooke Baldwin,
coronavirus
Parker Posey?
patients in clinical trials, including high
Poppy
doses
Harlow.
of
Poppy
hydroxychloroquine.
Harlow.
Senior medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen
Oh.
joins us now.
They had to use
She's
the blue
actually,
screen.
she's fared the best with the 4K from home.
Yeah.
Buy this stuff in bulk and start
That's like an
using it as
after and
a
before
prophylactic.
photo.
What are they looking at? Why are they
Common heartburn drug being
Let's take a look at
studied as
what their
possible
study
treatment.
is.
I'm a little
They're
curious
looking
about this
at
because I
right
saw
now
this morning. They were
they're
talking about
pushing
how the
their own
heartburn medication sometimes deactivates certain receptors that are attacked by COVID.
Right.
Really?
Reg, I know, is there live. We weren't ever supposed to talk about this, but it's actually surprisingly people have been talking about how bad smoking is. And I have no medical advice here whatsoever, but they did one study in China where they looked at the people who had contracted coronavirus, and it was unbelievably low, the percentage of smokers in comparison to the total population of China. And a big reason they thought is that nicotine actually acts on the, if I'm not mistaken, like the A2 receptors that COVID attacks. So basically it downregulates the sensitivity of those receptors. COVID attacks it, and it really has nothing to attack. I wonder if it's the same thing with a little bit of Peptid AC.
I don't know. I thought you were going to say
Pepto-Bismol.
because your lungs are already destroyed if
Little
you were
bit of
dumb enough
Tums.
to smoke.
No.
So
I'm not saying you should smoke. I'm just saying that apparently
Not
there's
medical
something going on there.
Yeah, this is not
Rolaids.
medical.
Do not start
Inject
smoking.
yourself with
I am
smoke.
not
That's what
saying
Steven
that smoking
said. Yes.
immunizes you
Steven Crowder
against the
dangerously
Chinese
suggests.
flu. And let me ask you this question for everyone watching, and we can go through with the chat. But also, this is going to be archived, so people in the comment section below. Can you stop shaking?
Right.
Do you have restless leg syndrome?
It does.
Do you need me to? Do you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis? I feel like that's all the commercials I
Moderate
see
to
on
severe.
CNN.
Yeah.
It's restless leg syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It
your
is.
legs shake. You need this hardcore pharmaceutical.
Right.
And right now, Wade is just going like this.
Yeah.
He's going.
This is my mild plaque psoriasis, just normal.
I love how it's
Okay.
moderate to severe. It's like, well, if we say severe, we won't get enough
It's a
clients.
sliding scale.
Exactly.
Like, I don't
Well, I
know.
have moderate. I'm
What if
moderate.
someone doesn't make that phone call because they think it's moderate, not moderate to
know.
severe, and then it just gets away from them? They're turning around and like, it was only moderate. No, it's moderate to severe, but it's too late. Doctor, can you do anything for me? I'm
Are
sorry.
they the elephant
too
man
late
now?
for you.
Now it's past moderate, severe. It's just severe. Oh, shoot.
I should have
There are
called.
children around, so the
Yeah,
guy would
right.
play
Right.
as
It's a
yeah.
family
The
show.
shoot.
Which I don't like those. Why should I ask my doctor? Shouldn't my doctor be telling me about it?
Why are
the
you putting
onus
the
on you,
onus
yeah.
on me? Yeah, exactly. You stole my
There's
word,
nothing I
Wade.
can
Onus.
There's nothing I can
Onus.
do about this there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry, patient. Doctor.
Wait, go see
Sorry,
if there's a
nothing I can do
commercial.
about your
Yeah.
moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. What about Pepsid AC? I mean, yeah, I guess we can give
Some
it a
kind of
shot.
password.
What?
That, yeah.
What?
That
Did I
would
just
work.
Wait, wait.
self-diagnose in
You know
your
about
office?
that?
Give me your
Yeah.
prescription pad. I'm going to write down some Percocet while I'm at it.
Like it's a speakeasy. Yeah, come on back with the Pepsid AC.
All right, we should probably we should probably get to news. But I will say this: I don't hate Western medicine, but pharmaceutical reps should be shot at dawn before breakfast. Oh, one point when I was
Why before breakfast?
I talked
I've
about
always
this when
wondered.
I was early married and I was defecating in boxes because I had some stomach problems.
Yeah.
Turned out it was related to having my appendix removed and all this stuff, like a probiotic thing. So, anyways, I'm in there and I go to a gastrointestinologist, and he's he's asking me what am I doing. I'm like, well, you know, I keep cramping my pants, you know, effectively. And there's this stunner pharmaceutical rep. He goes, hey, do you mind if this rep sits in? I
Yeah.
said, don't finish that sentence. I do mind.
Yes.
I don't want them in there at all.
Yeah.
I don't even want your understudy there at all, whatever they call them.
Why do they need? No, they don't need to be in there. For
Nurse?
So I don't know. But
Nurse.
my question for you, hello, nurse. Do you think that any of this will catch up with Joe Biden? The accusations, the allegations of rape, the fact that the media has not been holding him accountable whatsoever. Before we go into any of this with Joe Biden, I want to be clear. I think we should hold this to the same standard as we did Justice Brett Kavanaugh. So I don't think that Joe Biden is guilty at this point. I have no proof that he's guilty
Right.
at this point, but it's fun to act like he's guilty. So I just want to be
At least
really
we're honest
It's
with where
really
we're coming
fun.
from.
There's a little
here,
bit of
you
trolling
know?
going on,
Yeah.
but there is some information that I think people should know. The real crime here is not whether Joe Biden. Well, first off, if he did it, that's the real crime.
Well, yeah,
if
true,
he
yeah, of
raped,
course.
rape's an actual crime.
Yes, it is.
It's a crime. It's not like is it? It's
This
crime.
just
crime.
in. Yeah.
It's just crime,
On the
and not
bus.
funny crime. It's right boop, on the button crime. Rape is right there. It's one of those crimes that's sort of there's not a gray area. That
Lord.
being said, the crime that we are witnessing right now is that of media malpractice. Is that
Again.
of them covering up what could potentially be a crime and making it hard for people to investigate whether or not a crime was committed. And that, to me, is what's so sinister. And I will say this: you never want to attribute malice, as to what could be
Right.
chalked up to stupidity. But I'll make a case here as to why I think some foul play is going on. You know, if this were Clue, I'd be like, and the murderer is CNN.
Yeah.
So let's go to this really quickly.
glad we're not playing.
Tara Reid, she talked about how the reason this was
other Tara
found
Reid,
was
yeah.
she talked about not that Tara.
Yeah.
Not
Different.
that- It's different.
Blow at a party.
Right.
This is
This
Tara
is not
Reid,
the same.
who
That's
accused
just
Joe
an
Biden of
unfortunate
rape.
coincidence, right?
Well, it's spelled differently.
It is, but it doesn't matter in
Right.
pronunciation.
And there's also,
Maybe she
believe it or
likes
not,
blow.
Joe
Who
Biden
knows?
is
I don't
also
know.
being accused by Rosaria Dawson.
Ah.
He just, apparently he had a fetish for Josie and the Pussycat
Look
Yeah.
co-star names.
Yeah.
It's a very weird fetish
Sure.
for a
The
rapist.
closest he could get.
Yeah, it's tough.
You know, different strokes. Also, he tried to rape someone from Different Strokes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Who would that possibly
I don't
be?
know. What you talking about, Biden? And he's like,
Well,
rape.
He's like trying to smell
Always
his hair
talking about
and-
rape. So Tara Reid said in one interview and another, my mother did call into Larry King back in 1993 about this, and it was sort of veiled. And she said, I bet you someone could find the episode. Well, someone did find the episode, and even though you can't 100% confirm that this is Tara Reid's mother, the one who's accusing Joe Biden of sexual assault, we can confirm that her mother lived in San Luis Obispo. We can confirm it's around the time frame where she said that it would have taken place, and the voice in question has been identified as Tara Reid's mom by some folks. So right now, just to be clear, this is not really in question. It hasn't been confirmed, but we haven't heard anyone even deny it. I want you to listen to this phone call. Tara Reid, woman who was allegedly raped by Biden, her mother calling into Larry King.
We're back. A couple more phone calls on this very important topic. Our guests are former United States Senator Howard Baker, Richard Allen, former National Security Advisor, and Lois Romano of the Washington Post. San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello.
She's so bad.
I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Now, but these are the people who do come to the Lois Romanos, right? The staff worker who says, I want to let you know about what's going
This
on,
is
either with
going
my
on and
boss
I'm
or the guy
troubled.
down the hall.
And a lot of these people have a sense of obligation. They feel that this public official should be accountable if it's something
They're
wrong.
whistleblowers to the press. in a sense.
Exactly.
Now, the first thing I noticed, I apologize for the poor sound, is how bad Larry King is at his job.
Yeah.
He just repeats what
He
the
repeats
other
what she
people
said
say.
and then tosses to someone to do his job.
I could do
And
that.
says the city wrong.
Yes.
Now, in San Luis Obispo, California, you're on the air. Okay, so you're saying you were raped, and you want to know if that is a crime, correct? Your Honor, what is the legal status on rape?
It is a crime, Larry.
It is a crime, San Luis Obispo. We'll go to our caller in Poughkeepsie.
That's a big legal thumbs down from our representative here.
This headline says that Chipotle has gotten in trouble one more time for contaminated food.
No.
Doctor,
False.
your thoughts on contamination at Chipotle?
I'd say
Thank
it's
you for
it's
your
a bad
commentary.
thing.
We'll be back. Like, he doesn't do
Yeah.
anything.
It's pretty bad.
And people act as though he's providing some sort of value. Okay, so here's what's really scary. After this, the August 11th, 1993 broadcast of that show disappeared. Keep this up because I need to see this really quickly. Now, here's what's crazy about this. 154, 155, if you look at these episodes, right? We don't know when this was removed from the Google Play Store. But it skips from August 10th, August 12th. I've looked into, and keep this up for a little bit because I can't look at this on my iPad.
Wow.
I looked everywhere else through these seasons, and I couldn't find a day skipped, provided it wasn't a weekend, where the show was actually running. This is the only one that I can find. And if you looked at it goes from 154 to 155, that means they had to change the
All
episode
of the
numbers of
shows.
the catalog after for the entire season.
Wow.
Okay, you can bring that down.
That is
So
insane.
some people were saying, well, CNN had this removed. No, CNN actually didn't have it removed. But that's even scarier to me because that means that Google Play themselves removed it, and someone at Google, Alphabet Google, changed the entire episode count afterward, which makes me wonder what are they sacrificing children to Moloch when they go out to Bohemian Grove? Like, what kind of a cabal is there behind the scenes right
They
now?
removed that video, though, so don't worry. It's already been
Right, yeah, it's already been removed.
Right, yeah.
But
do that. Yeah.
some people were saying there's no conspiracy because CNN doesn't do anything with Google. Well, hold on a second. That just means that Google is in on it with CNN.
It gets worse if that's the case. If
Right.
CNN isn't the actor here, it's somebody else that did it, and it's like, oh, great. Now we have to worry about them too.
Right.
Even more. I mean, we always do.
Yeah, and of all people, Google should know how the internet works. Like, as if they think that if you remove it, then it's gone.
It never happened.
Now, internet is the one where it has net zero. correct?
That's correct from the 1990s. Yes.
Yes.
That is an older...
Now, Gerald, I hear you use the internet, right?
I do not.
We'll be back with more calls from San Luis Obispo.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
He looks like an owl.
Yeah.
But in the internet, everything is everywhere all the time.
Right.
So
Right.
why do they think that? Yeah, just okay. Well, we'll change the number so people won't even
Like nobody has
Right.
the Wayback Machine.
And so we have actually with this evidence, which is it's thin, right? But it does corroborate what she says happened,
Yeah.
right? And it could
Certainly
even,
more than we ever had with Brett Kavanaugh.
Exactly what I was going to say.
the
We have
standard
actually
matters.
we have passed the point of the evidence that we had with Brett Kavanaugh. We are light years beyond that
Right.
with evidence now for this case, and we're not hearing.
Well, and here's what
about
matters too. There are 3 potential Biden running mates, right? They were on Sunday shows. None of them were asked about the allegations. And I believe it was Tara Reid who was really pissed off with Anderson Cooper. No one asked anyone anything. And let's just simplify this. Let's boil this down. Let's be reductive. What happened to Me Too? That was an entire year's worth of content.
Believe every
It was
woman.
hashtag Me Too.
Yes.
Everything was
Yeah.
Me Too. Right now, it's nowhere to be found. Kind of
Not
like
at
Black
all.
Lives Matter.
Yeah.
What happened to Black Lives Matter? That's gone now? None of it? There's no Me Too at all. Whereas right now, you have far more than you ever had with Kavanaugh. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, how do I say that we have more evidence here than we have with Kavanaugh where there really isn't all that much evidence? Well, with Kavanaugh, we didn't have that much evidence, but we had a lot of anti-evidence. We had a woman, Christine Blasey Ford, who came forward and said that something happened on a day that she couldn't remember in a place that she described, which police investigated and didn't even exist. Her story that she gave to the psychologist didn't corroborate with a story that was put out in journals and I think it was the Washington Post at the time, and wasn't the same as the testimony that was provided at the hearing. Then there were other women who came forward who afterward recanted and said, okay, that wasn't necessarily true. And the only reason they did that was because people came out and said there's no possible way he could have been there at that time. Throughout this entire time span, Brett Kavanaugh was like a real-life Doug in that he kept a journal for his entire life, which was corroborated in several other instances, which is why it was considered to be at least semi-valid as a form of evidence. And he has no history outside of the accusations that were brought to light immediately by the media. There is no other history of Brett Kavanaugh committing any type of inappropriate sexual conduct at all. Nothing. The only time it had ever been brought up was when the media immediately full-on assault against him. This isn't the first time this has happened with Joe Biden.
Right.
Believe your lying eyes and ears. He sniffs children. He sniffs children. He has biker ladies sit on his lap. Several people have come forward before and just said that they've made her that he's made them uncomfortable. Now this woman claims rape. She says, I bet if you go back to Larry King, my mom called in. And that goes up and then it comes down because Google decides not to cover it or to remove it entirely. And then no media entity interviewing Joe Biden or any of the potential running mates bring up any of this. There's a lot more evidence here than Brett Kavanaugh.
But can we not give them at least as much credence, like as we gave Christine Blasey Ford? There's so much more evidence and less disconfirming evidence. But can we not just maybe raise them to the same level?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Well, at least ask you could ask a
at
roundabout
all?
question about it and say, hey, you're potentially one of his running mates. What do you think about these allegations? Though they're obviously false. I know CNN would throw something like that in,
Yeah,
right?
of course they would, yeah.
What do you think about these terribly false accusations by that whore of a woman? You know, like they would just discredit her immediately. But they didn't even say that. They said nothing about it.
Yeah, they acted
And
like it
I'm not
never
looking for
happened.
her to be the spokesperson for the next Me Too movement. I'm saying it's possible, but at least ask the question, if you are a news agency and you said you are, this is what you're supposed to do.
There is no Me Too movement.
No, I know.
That's the point. It's dead. And I would, as a matter of fact, the one thing I will say, the silver lining in this is don't expect people to trot out false accusations against Donald Trump this election.
Well,
that was what was brilliant the last go around when they brought out the the tape of him grabbing by the and then he brought out Juanita Broderick.
Yeah.
Stand up. That's right. That's right. Bill Clinton. Most people think of Monica Lewinsky.
That's awkward.
But she was in love with it. They had a relationship. You were raped, right? You were raped, Juanita. Juanita was raped. It's terrible.
He's got like the Juanita card, right?
Yes,
He's
right
ready
away,
to just
and people are going,
slap it down.
oh, we shouldn't bring this up anymore. I better be quiet now.
Yes.
I think that, well, God, who knows? The media might decide to make this go away and bring out some false allegation against Donald Trump. But here's something else. If someone were to come forward, let's say right now, right, who worked for Joe Biden, someone had an interaction with Joe Biden and say, you know what, Joe Biden actually, he's kind of racist. He treated me poorly because I'm a minority. You would have to go, well, let's go back to the tail of the tape.
Yeah.
You can't go into a 7-Eleven without a slight Indian accent. Barack Obama is the first clean, articulate
Yeah.
Did he say Negro or
I think he said
African-American?
Negro. I don't remember.
African-American.
Oh, he said, okay, all right. I thought he said
And he said, I don't want my
respectful
children growing up in a jungle, a racial jungle. I believe. Like,
Right. What about the Shylocks?
The Shylocks,
and
right?
all
You
those
have all
things.
these
Put you back in
Shylocks out
chains
there.
and all.
Put you back in chains. Now,
Yeah.
does it mean that he's I don't think that Joe Biden is a racist. But if someone were to come forward and say he treated me with a racial insensitivity that made me uncomfortable, there's far more of a track record there than you would have of Brett Kavanaugh and rape.
It's the rules for radicals thing of accusing somebody of doing exactly what you're doing. It distracts people from you taking part in the things that you're making fun of Donald Trump or others of doing.
Right.
Yeah, it's an insane strategy.
Yeah, there'd be plenty of evidence to convict him if somebody came out and said, yes, he's actually a secret racist. You know,
Joe Biden?
He has the hood, he has the whole get up, it's in his closet. There'd be plenty of evidence to be like, oh yeah, all right, well that makes sense.
You just need a few pictures of him having dinner with Robert Byrd, which, to be honest,
that'll happen.
Pro tempore him at that point. He was fourth in line for the presidency.
If
a couple of airplanes went down, Robert Byrd wasn't just kind of dabbling in racism. He was recruiting. He had Klan dental in a company car. The Klan sent him
I didn't know they had dental.
Wow. Their very hard to find a Lincoln town car all white.
It is, yeah.
Is it like Mary Kay? You get enough recruits, you get your own racist car.
Wow.
You get enough recruits, and you get a car with a custom Burning Cross hood on it.
Did we just reduce the KKK to a multi-level marketing scheme?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It has a high roof for the hood. It's all very important.
It's got the bubble roof like they put on those conversion vans for the ambulances.
It's like the Pope Mobile, right?
It's really basically a Westphalia is what it is. All right, that's good. I feel comfortable at that. I don't have to compromise my uniform,
right?
And I can get where I need to go. Anyway, my point is Joe Biden's a rapist and a racist.
That's a point. Yeah.
I don't think he's either of those things.
Right.
But I am at the point, and I used to say like, hey, we should be above that. I don't know. I no. At this point,
I think we can do it for comedy because they can see that and then they can say, no, we don't actually think he is. Like, there's both there, right?
Yeah.
We're fine. But at least hold him to the same standard you hold. And by the way, the interviews that happen on the Sunday shows that you mentioned, I don't know. I know that there's three. I know two of the potential running mates, and they're both women. Is the third one a woman as well?
Yeah.
So all three women, this was not a relevant topic, a women's issue.
Yeah.
Come on. It's not like there was a guy sitting up there and you can kind of skate past it.
Potentially could be Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate. Well, I don't know. Exploratory committee. Yeah. Quick question. Are you concerned about him raping you?
Yeah, exactly. Let's start with smelling your hair. Is it okay if he smells your hair?
Now, running mate for Joe Biden. He didn't diddle you, correct? At no point did he smell your collar.
Yeah.
All right. Your thought on sniffing babies. We'll be back.
Larry King, how does that guy, how does he have a job? I'm sorry, Dave Rubin. I know Dave Rubin really likes Larry King.
Really?
Friends. I can't think of anyone, maybe Barbara Walters. She's the one who trivialized news worse than anyone I think I've ever seen.
It's that voice. Larry King's got that, I don't know, it's easy to imitate voice.
Get that bass.
I don't know. It's fun.
Way to search for a way to compliment the guy. Wade.
Come on.
I don't know. He's
the worst guy at handling
stuff.
Larry King was the worst guy at handling the trolls. But
caller number 2, calling in from Tempe. You're on the air.
Howard Stern's penis. Howard Stern's penis.
Howard Stern's penis. Do you know anything about that, Senator Byrd?
No matter what it said, no matter what it said, he has to repeat it.
Take it seriously.
He has no filter.
Oh, by the way, we're going to get to some new updates on the coronavirus, COVID-19, the deaths, and the all-cause mortality rate. And again, I make no apologies for the position that we've maintained here on this show.
The whole time.
But before that, I know that many of you, of course, you're in quarantine. And right now we're seeing that actually it looks like they're going to be in quarantine still in Wisconsin through May.
That sucks. Yikes.
What? So, yeah, all the way through May is what I just saw there on CNN.
Oh, wow.
So we know that many of you have had your morning commutes disrupted. We do our best to serve you, so I believe we have our senior traffic correspondent on. It's time for traffic update. All right, Thomas Finnegan with our traffic update. Tell us what's going on this morning there, Thomas.
That doesn't sound good.
Wow.
Nothing good, Stephen. Nothing good.
Okay.
Whoa.
Thank you very much. All right, this has been our traffic update with Thomas Finnegan.
Great reporting.
How did he make senior correspondent?
I don't know.
He killed the junior
Yeah.
correspondent. So
Has anyone seen Thomas in a while?
no,
I haven't seen him in a while.
He's the guy I want on the front
going
lines,
on?
though.
Yeah, he is. He's on the front lines.
He's definitely the guy I want out there.
Also, by the way,
right next to the tornado.
Do you know what? Do you know what a new term? Because we've been calling obviously everyone on the front lines working in hospitals as heroes, right? They're on the front lines working in hospitals. But do you know what a synonym is for that now? Furloughed. Yeah. I don't know. We've just destroyed, decimated the health industry here in the United States. A lot of people don't know this, that people are just, they can't stay in business because they were waiting for a surge that never fully came. And the idea of flattening the curve was to make sure they were equipped. Now they're equipped, but they can't provide non-essential services. They can't make money. And I bet, who knows what's going to happen with the healthcare sector.
And they're not doing well visits. So a lot of these doctors' offices are just sitting empty. Like, okay, well, I
doing
guess
TikTok videos and stuff.
Right.
What
do doctors
so
do?
Pediatricians are just sitting around waiting for more kids to come in, but they're not but the kids don't come in for the regular scheduled stuff. So
and that's also a big reason that the testing isn't very high, because people were told not to go in. They're afraid of this virus, and so they don't want to go in and get tested. And then they say, well, why isn't there more? Unless you force people to come in and get tested, you're not going to have more testing. The good thing is now we have several different municipalities that have done antibody testing. And I know this isn't 100% accurate, okay? I'll do a graph maybe next time when we do this show. But we have New York City, Santa Clara County, Los Angeles County, Miami-Dade County, and then Chelsea, Massachusetts, near Boston, okay? Many thousands of people now where they've done random testing, sampling for antibodies in all of these different populations. These aren't small cities. Every single one has come out showing a 4 to over 6% infection rate, meaning far higher than we initially estimated. Every single one. Let me go back. New York City, Los Angeles County, Miami-Dade, and I know Chelsea. If someone knows of another large-scale antibody test that's reliable, send it in, because they're changing every single day. Every single one has now revised their death rate to 0.5 to 0.1. Keep in mind, 95% of those in every single study conducted involves people over the age of 70 with comorbidities. So it is the flu. Right now, the actual death rate is far more communicable, but it is the flu. Let's be really clear. Now, some people are saying there might be some false positives for those antibody tests, and so they might be a little bit high. All right, okay, let's say that. But let's take a sliding scale here. All right, my left, your right. Maybe I should do it in reverse. My right, your left, okay? The flu is about 0.1%, right, death rate. And then the projected death rates that we had was between 3 and, I heard as high as 7%. New York, they said 7%. Let's call it 5%. So, 0.1 flu, 7% here, okay? Here you go. I wish I had a little chart and I could draw this for you.
It'd have to be a long way away.
Everyone was called a science denier if they said, well, you know what? It seems like it's more comparable to the flu than what they're claiming it's going to be. Let's say that there are a few too many positive antibody tests right now, and it's, I don't know, 0.5%. Let's say it's 0.7%, which no one is saying, by the way. No one is saying the death rate at this point, the mortality rate, could be any more than 0.7%. Most people are saying it's really more like 0.1 to 0.5%. Okay. The stupid, crazy anti-science deniers who said it was closer to the flu, 0.1 versus 5% over here, science, Fauci, all these folks with their projections. Take your little dot, put it on that sliding, what is this, a stick graph? What do you call it?
We'll call it a graph. Just graph.
Guess what? The crazy anti-vaxxer, climate-denying, anti-science folks who said it's more comparable to the flu got it exponentially more correct than the experts. And of course, you should get vaccinated. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Of course, I'm not saying that there's no such thing as climate change. But I'm saying you labeled these people as anti-science peasants who couldn't know. You should trust the experts. You guys were off by thousands.
It's incredible, and the cat's really out of the bag in this. Like when are we done with this? How much longer does the charade need to go on? Where people say we have to stay closed and we have to do this through May and we have to keep our businesses shut down and hospitals. And every time you see CNN up there, by the way, they're talking about, oh crap, here's another one, because restaurants are closed. People aren't buying as much food from restaurants, and so the farmers are having problems now, and the supply chain is starting to break down. We really need to reopen the economy. It's like,
it's a domino effect.
Duh. There's a great video with some people from I think Los Angeles, 2 doctors who talked about the patients that they've actually seen, and they've conducted some antibody tests. And I think we have it up at louderwithcrowder.com. I will tell you this, right now in our neighborhood, okay, we all live in about the same neighborhood, we can go to Costco and go shopping. Right? We can drive through or pick up at Shake Shack, at Five Guys, at Dunkin' Donuts, right? You can drive through or pick up. Duncan, sorry, that's right. They want me to remove the donuts. No. You wear that around your neck for all time, okay? You contributed to this obesity epidemic, thus increasing the mortality rate of SARS and COVID. You own it. You will forever be Dunkin' Donuts. You know what? If nothing else, I'm going to call you Donuts. So I can go to Costco, I can drive through Shake Shack, Five Guys, Taco Bell, Dunkin' Donuts, but I can't support my local bakery.
No.
I can't support my local mom and pop restaurant. You tell me how that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all, especially when you can social distance in restaurants and you can sanitize stuff. I mean, God forbid, you're telling me the fork they're putting on my table isn't sanitized? Right. I'm putting it in my mouth every other time I go to that restaurant?
Well, and CNN did a segment this morning about how this is all affecting Black small business owners.
Right.
It's affecting every small business owner.
Yeah.
Like so we don't need to make this some sort of racial thing. This is a negative thing for people who can't.
Everybody.
Yeah, for everybody. And everybody's experiencing this at a different level, but small businesses are experiencing it at a high level.
Isn't it kind of funny that right now they say this is affecting Black people and minority, and they want to make it a racial thing, but then if you just say, we've gotten in trouble where we've said, I've made jokes about, sickle cell, and you quarter like they catch sickle cell, like, oh, that's racist. And that's a biological fact. It's a biological fact.
Stats.
And I know this. I'm French Canadian. I have Acadian blood. I didn't realize that there are so many hereditary diseases exclusive to Acadian bloodlines until I did genetic testing. It's the same with Black people, sickle cell. Let's be honest. They don't really want to talk about genetic predispositions. They want to talk about food deserts, and they want to talk about Black business owners. They don't really want to talk about diseases that might affect people of a specific lineage, of a specific racial makeup.
You think that might be a little helpful to know?
I think it might be a little helpful to know.
A little bit.
Don't talk about it.
You've got a few little Grim Reaper looking cells inside you.
They do. Those little sickles.
Always waiting to get those.
Some people call it a sickle cell. I call it a sling cell.
So let me give you a little bit of a coronavirus update here that I think is important. We didn't want to lead it with that because we thought rape was more interesting. And I'm getting a little bit tired of coronavirus. I bet you this time, man, we couldn't have timed our quarantine month more perfectly.
That's true. Yeah, it works.
Because after this, you guys will be free. And next show, I'm going to lick a popsicle stick and leave it on. Here, look. Anyone wants to get it over with?
Wait, do you have the COVID?
I'm pretty sure we all have the COVID. I'm pretty sure we all had coronavirus at some point early in the year. I'm pretty sure we all had it. Well, that's the problem is the antibody testing is tough. But you know what? The best thing to do right now is isolate the sick and the elderly and get it over with. Not medical advice.
Whoa, wait. Did you kill them? Isolate them and...
No. We get it over with.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so you're saying inject bleach into my temple.
Yes.
Is that what that's okay. That is that is what I heard.
Dangerously suggests.
Yes. Don't even get me started on blood irradiation and all that stuff, because then people say, are you giving medical advice? No, I'm just saying it's an actual thing.
It's real.
It's a real thing.
Just pointing it out.
But before we move on to the COVID update, Donald Trump this is the kind of thing he does where he screws his supporters. Donald Trump's ego screws his supporters. He said, I was being sarcastic. You were not being sarcastic.
No.
You said something that was reasonable, by the way, until you misspoke. You should have said, is there some way to get the disinfectant to like a cleaning in the lungs with a real doctor? Yeah. Listen, you probably should have let the doctors do the speaking. You introduce the topic, bring out the expert. That's what these press house now I sound like press house briefing. If I were Donald Trump, I would say,
no, it's not the press house
briefings, and they would say, did you mean White House press briefings? No. Excuse me. No.
I was being
I have a new building. It's called the press house.
I was being cute.
And there's somebody feverishly changing all of it on the White House website to press house briefings.
Right. And so people have been coming back at us saying, like, do you regret saying what you said on Friday? No, I don't. I regret nothing. Because people were going out there saying, I think it was Governor Whitmer from Michigan, saying you absolutely should not drink Lysol. Find me a quote even remotely close to Donald Trump saying you need to drink Lysol. No, he didn't say that. What the media went forward with, what they used was it was media malpractice. It was journalistic malpractice. It's totally taken out of context. That being said, as we said on Friday, Donald Trump sometimes speaks like an idiot.
Yeah. Yes.
And for him to be defended by his supporters, saying the media has taken this out of context, which granted might have been a misspeak, he would rather lie and say, I was being sarcastic than just own up that he made a mistake. Well, that's a problem.
Do you think that the people in the media actually think that he means put Lysol in your veins?
No, of course not.
No. You don't think they think that?
No.
I think that they just are so blind that they actually don't understand what words are coming out. Like they're trying to misinterpret him. But so you actually think they're just...
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, I think someone at CNN called Lysol. Like, did you hear? And I think this is what... Did you hear that Donald Trump said that he should drink? And someone at Lysol went, what?
Yeah,
and then released a statement because they don't want to be held liable.
Well, I mean, and put it this way, a lot of people aren't watching the press briefings. A lot are. They had great ratings. But if you heard about this, most likely the only way that you heard about it was CNN saying something about injecting something into your body.
Well, it wasn't just CNN. It made it all the way through. The problem is that it gets carried online. Yeah. CNN is inconsequential in that no one watches their ratings, but they still are.
Everybody else is reporting it. MSNBC, all over the web, right? And that's how people would have heard it, not from Donald Trump himself.
So everyone is chloroquine lady.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The entire media is the person we actually thought was stupid.
Right. And
turns out she's a murderer.
And by the way, that was total fake news. The idea that there have been increased calls to poison control, not true.
Really?
Yeah, not true. Not true. Fake news. I think we can probably bring this up, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we can bring this up as a fact check. We had it in here in the show map this morning, and then we decided to go
a different direction.
Go the direction of RuPaul's Drag Race with Jeff. Just because I couldn't resist.
That's an angle.
Let's go through the COVID update. And then we have Papa Prado with some stories from back in Detroit. So a new Israeli global study shows that this is something that's been across the board, and they can't necessarily explain it, that there's a rapid increase with coronavirus. It peaks in the 6th week, and then it declines in the 8th week, regardless of lockdown policies. And you've heard us talk about this quite a bit, because if you look at Sweden, they're not worse off. For example, they had no lockdown. And there's a reasonable difference between the two, where you should be able to split the difference, where you either lock down everything and you quarantine the healthy, which makes no sense. Historically, you don't quarantine the healthy, you quarantine the sick.
Right, exactly.
Then there's the other approach of Sweden, where you don't do anything and you leave all schools open. You don't really change the way of life a whole bunch. I think there's a middle ground, which is you quarantine the sick, you quarantine the vulnerable, and you allow the healthy to go forward.
Right.
Here's something else that's pretty interesting. William Briggs, he actually wrote that flu, and we talked about this, flu pneumonia deaths are being misclassified as coronavirus deaths. And here's something that's really telling. We've talked about this, how all of a sudden flu deaths went to zero.
Right.
Right, just disappeared.
Miraculously
went to zero. But then a lot of people said, well, maybe that was because of social distancing. And you heard me say, hold on a second, this is happening before social distancing, in the sense that those flu deaths and pneumonia deaths went down in February or early March. Okay, so that would have been before social distancing, even if it went all the way through mid-April. Social distancing wouldn't have really kicked in until about now, just to be clear. But the all-cause mortality death rate is significantly lower this year than last year. Yes, and this is going back to January. So what does that mean for a second? That means it's been trending down since January, long before lockdowns began. And it's only been declining more. I think we can bring this up here. This is from the William Briggs study. So that means all-cause mortality. What would that mean? That would mean flu, pneumonia, heart attack, stroke, cancer. All-cause mortality is lower. Why? Because of any of those other comorbidities in any other year, which would be this is a stroke death. This is a heart attack death. This is a death due to complications with diabetes. This is a death due to complications with hypertension, are all being listed as COVID deaths, just like all flu and pneumonia deaths are being listed as COVID deaths. It doesn't make any sense that this year our overall mortality rate is significantly lower, and it is significantly lower across the board on the all-cause mortality rate, unless, like we saw in Pennsylvania, where they took just 200 COVID deaths off the books. Like you saw in New York on the flip side, where they added 3,700 coronavirus deaths without being tested, by the way. They just assumed that it was present. And I understand there's some complications here where, if someone has cancer and they're going through chemo and they're doing okay, and then they get the flu, well, maybe the flu did kill them. But there is a split, those, right? It's not all of them will go on the register, what will be registered as a flu death. Typically, you go, well, hold on a second. What was the more severe condition? What was the condition that was more likely to kill someone? Is it the chemo? Is it the fact that this person has stage 4 melanoma, or the fact that this person has the flu? No, what was going to kill them inevitably was a cancer. So they look at those. Our death rates in this country aren't all that accurate. And when you look at these numbers now that show us, okay, coronavirus peaks at 6 weeks and goes down by 8 weeks, regardless of containment, and then you look at the all-cause mortality rate being lower, that is something that should concern a lot of people, because I think these books, I'm not a doctor. I want to be very, very clear here, not offering medical advice, but the books are cooked.
Yeah, and it's not the doctors and nurses that are doing that. It seems like the guidance that they're being given is either intentionally or unintentionally juicing up these numbers, right? From CDC or whoever's putting out the guidelines on how to track these things. Yeah. And you ask yourself, like, if these guys are pumping up the numbers, why? Why are you doing that? And I think Briggs actually makes the point down there. It's like one of the possibilities is that their projections were so wrong. They're trying to nudge the numbers up a little bit. See, we're not as dumb as you think we are with our projections, right? And the other one is that it's just bad reporting, right? They're just doing a poor job of really classifying what people are dying from, right? I don't know which side it comes down on, but I don't think it's doctors and nurses that we should be frustrated. You're not saying that either, but I think somebody needs to look into why are we counting?
No, but there also is a financial,
at a higher level.
There also is a financial incentive right now to list a death as a coronavirus-related death. When you look at some of the relief that's meant to go to hospitals, specifically some of it is allocated for coronavirus deaths, and we can fact check that. Reg can bring it up. This is something that was in USA Today.
Yeah, you don't have to be a doctor to be able to do math. And it's actually a good thing that people outside of the medical community are checking on these numbers and going, this seems a little strange.
Yeah.
Right. And the cool thing, too, about this graph, and the reason I say cool is because it's great news if the Israel Times report is correct, because it peaks at 6 and dies down at 8. It was global. They looked at all of the different countries that had different responses to this virus, even to South Korea, Taiwan, places like that, and they put it with some of the most hard hit. They used New York just as itself and not just the United States, and all of the graphs did that. All of them. Right, across the entire planet. That was awesome. It was a great thing, because hopefully it just burns itself out. Right. And that's the arc.
Well, listen, we know that it's killed by UV light.
It is. We have the best sun. The absolute best sun.
Oh, was that? Can we bring that up again real quick? That's the overlay that, more patients, hospitals get paid more if patients are listed as COVID-19 on ventilators. That's right, specifically on ventilators right now.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And none of these, what was the US, what is it, USNS Comfort? USS Comfort?
USS Comfort.
USS Comfort.
Oh, yes.
They just left. The ship left New York. Bye-bye. They weren't even close to capacity with their beds.
Yeah.
Almost all of these hospitals that have been built up, they haven't been used at all.
Yeah.
Right? Hospitals right now are furloughing and laying off workers. They're not full. They're not filled to capacity. So this whole flatten the curve, well, we did it. We may have flattened a curve that wasn't really going to happen, because now we've destroyed an entire industry of healthcare workers. And unfortunately, you do have to go to the doctors who are actually treating patients. Listen, I'm not disrespecting Dr. Fauci at all. I understand.
Right.
He hasn't seen a patient in 20 years. And the theoretical and the practical, what happens in the real world, are very different things. And when you look at doctors who are actually treating patients right now on a grand scale, there does seem to be a chasm between doctors who are on. Now, don't just take doctors in Lenox Hill. Don't just take doctors in New York City, but doctors even in California, doctors in Wyoming, doctors in Texas. If you take what they are seeing and what is going on in their hospitals and compare it to the projections that you saw from the World Health Organization, or what Dr. Fauci said was undeniable. Here's the thing. If you look at there is no denying right now, okay? Here's something about which there can be no disagreement. It wouldn't have been humanly possible for the United States to have 2.5 million deaths. It's not possible. It's not possible, understanding the death rates that we understand now. It's not a possibility unless the entire population consisted of 95-year-olds with diabetes and stage 3 lung cancer. It's not a possibility.
Well, going back to the sort of COVID hospital funding, a lot of the most grants, most discoveries in science that are grant-based tend to happen right when the grant money's just about to run out.
Right.
Or at least like, we
what
found something
saying, Wade?
promising. We found something
that
we might need a little more money to check into XYZ.
Right.
And so there is a profit motive, and it's clear that it's being taken advantage of.
By the way, his view is a little skewed, because he actually gets money from his sugar daddy named Grant.
I do.
And once the checks start running dry,
once he says the name,
he doesn't have to do a whole lot. He just has to dust the bookcase in a onesie.
But I think it's the unintended consequences of this. And when they passed the CARES, the CARES Act that they did for unemployment, there's PPP and then there's a CARES thing. So stop it. It basically, what is it called? Moral hazard, right? You're trying to get people off of unemployment, but you're paying them so much that there's no incentive for them to do that. The same thing can happen in hospital situations, lab studies, where you just incentivize some behavior, and unfortunately it causes people to run that direction. And that very well could be the case in hospitals. I don't know that it is. I think they just suck at making predictions like this. I think that you're just not good. Medicine necessarily moves slowly.
They were making
cautiously,
predictions based on a 4 to 7% death rate.
Well, they were
right,
making,
but there were people like us from the beginning.
Yes,
people like us and by the way, it wasn't just based on a hunch. It was based on other epidemiologists who were working on the ground. We posted
there were other voices
on the website
out there
where people were saying this is far more prevalent than people realize. The mortality rate is far lower. These projections are incorrect. Now we know that the skeptics, the contrarians, were right. Let's be clear about that, because the skeptics, the contrarians, could be right on the idea that when the left tries to say, hey, they're just like the climate deniers, go, you know what? Yep. The people who said there's no way we're going to have 2.5 million dead in the United States, there's no way, no how. I want you to remember that and go, he's the same guy who's saying that the Kyoto Protocol won't curb emissions because we shouldn't trust China. Yep, I'm that denier.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm that guy. Put me in that category. Yep, I said no way 2.5 million deaths, no way 5 to 7% death rate. It's horseshit. I'm the same guy saying Montreal Agreement, Kyoto Protocol, now it's the Paris Accord. Kyoto Protocol, Paris Accord. Yep, I'm the same denier. Now, just like with COVID, I didn't say it was a hoax. I was saying this is something that needs to be dealt with appropriately.
Right.
There needs to be the appropriate scale in relation to the threat. That is exactly what we are saying about climate change. There needs to be an equal and appropriate response to the scale of the threat. And shutting down the world economy, you know how difficult this has been, by the way? You know how difficult this has been right now for everyone here? We talk about the economy shutting it down. What do you think would happen if neo-environmentalists had their way globally? And these same people like AOC are saying, I think it's a great thing that oil is at a net negative. If these people had their way, what you're experiencing right now is actually child's play compared to what they would experience in the third world with the Green New Deal or the Kyoto Protocol actually being signed. Sorry, my bad, Paris Accord. I keep forgetting.
It just keeps changing names.
Let alone in the new world. You think that you've been thrust out into the cold that AOC knows. You cannot imagine what would happen. So think. Coronavirus, the leftist response, what happened to the economy. Now apply that to the entire globe. That is the Paris Agreement. So, yep, put us all in the same boat.
Yeah, well, we all know that the people who have made these bad predictions, who have been proved wrong publicly, are going to be around when there is some kind of second wave, or if there's some second wave, and they're going to be asked the same things. They're not going to lose their jobs. I think that's probably the most one of the most tragic things about this whole deception is that it could happen again by the same people to the same audience. We have to hold these people accountable. Remember their names, and when they pop up again on your screen, remember that's the guy who said it wrong.
This is the perfect example of they're playing with somebody else's money.
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone here, let's say someone here said, all right, listen, these are our projections for the profits for Louder with Crowder, and we said, okay, all right, we're going to hire some new people. We're going to make sure that we bring Quarter Black Garrett up. Okay, we'll pay people a little bit more. We're going to get some health insurance going on here as opposed to a health sharing program. We're going to be, okay, good, we did. And then someone goes, oh, wait, sorry, I was off by how much? Well, you're actually making 90% less profit. You're my guy who was supposed to project, so you're fired. But instead, someone who says 2.5 million deaths, which, by the way, could not have possibly been decreased by social distancing. We know that now. It's not because of social distancing. It's because your numbers were wrong, and now we're looking at under 60,000 deaths. You were off by it. What's the percentage on that?
I mean, it's
astronomical. We're talking about astronomical. I can't put a percentage on it because I'm not a math Asian. He's not here today. But that being said, it should be, you're fired.
Right. Well, and
they're playing with our money. Our businesses are shut down.
Right. Exactly.
There's no Fauci's, not AOC's. How about we put a pay freeze on everyone in the government right now? Senators, congressmen. How about that? How about a pay freeze? How about they experience the same kind of freeze that we do? You know what? You get $1,200 a month.
Ooh,
nice. How about that?
I like that. I think this also, like the lesson for the general public is that this is the playbook, right? Next time something comes around, it doesn't have to be a global pandemic that they use, right? If government is bent on overreaching and growing, which is pretty much the only thing that government does, they can use the same thing and say, well, we have this threat called climate change. It's going to kill 100,000 people this year, 200,000 next year. We have to forcibly close things down and make everybody do their part to avoid this catastrophic thing, right? It's the exact same thing. They can come out and say the exact same thing about climate change.
I hate to interrupt you. I have to do a live read here for a sponsor. Of course, the wonderful sponsor is Black Rifle, blackriflecoffee.com/Crowder. Enter the promo code Crowder. You get 20% off. But today, sponsoring the whole show, the studio, Louder with Crowder Studios, is brought to you by Clock Radios. What better way to wake up than to the sound of your favorite local radio personalities? Clock Radios can make it happen. Clock Radios tell the time and play music all at once. I know what you're thinking. I have a phone for that. Well, for a limited time, if you order using our promo code, we'll throw in a cordless home phone, absolutely full price. Just go to imdb.com, type in promo code radio2003 today. That's imdb.com, promo code radio2003. Thank you, Clock Radio.
Ed Harris.
I use one every morning.
So here's what we'll do. We'll do we have some chat to get to there, Gibbon? And then we'll have we'll close it out with Papa Crowder stories. But I wanted to do Jeff Goldblum before that. So we have a couple of chats? Okay, hold on a second. Let's bring me. Hit me with a couple of chats, Goebbels.
There we go. Now I'm on.
All right.
So this one comes from Jay. What are your thoughts on Twitter and YouTube forcing companies to take down their videos on UV light studies and devices they're developing to combat COVID-19?
Well, I mean, is that a trick question? What do you think?
You've been watching the show? Have you been watching the show?
Just repeat the question back to him.
Okay, here's one thing that I have to be very, very careful because I don't want to provide any misinformation. That being said, everyone here, you all know that we have a protocol that was given to us by a doctor with supplements that we take to try and protect ourselves and improve our immune system as best possible.
Dr. Phil, he's great.
Yes, Dr. Phil, he's great. Now, I don't want to
advice.
dispense any medical advice, but I will say this. Research coronavirus, go search what receptors they attack, look at the mechanism of action, and see if there are any supplements out there that could potentially help you with it. PubMed is a great portal.
Yeah.
It's a great resource for you, and talk with your doctor. There are things out there, but I can't say it at the risk of being banned. Now, that being said, UV light, blood irradiation, which is where you would actually irradiate some blood with UV light and then re-inject it in the body so it gets carried around the entire bloodstream, is I think it was referred to as the antibiotic time forgot. So before antibiotics, they use this. There are clinical studies that have shown that it works in patients with hepatitis C, certain viruses. It reaches the clinical threshold for reducing the viral load. Now, and that's been done with many different viruses, and I'm not exactly sure infections entirely. We haven't done it on coronavirus. But the idea that getting UV light in any way into someone's blood as an effective mechanism of killing some kind of a pathogen is not new, it's not novel, and it's certainly not quackery. So the fact, now I'll tell you what is quackery. I'll tell you what is, let me be clear. It's not wrong. Blood irradiation has been a technique that has been used quite a bit for a very long time, okay? So it's not incorrect. I'll tell you what is incorrect. That coronavirus cannot be transmitted through human-to-human contact, which is what the World Health Organization tweeted out. So here's the problem. If we have to rely on the World Health Organization, and YouTube and Google and Facebook are going to be the arbiters of truth, and effectively with coronavirus, the World Health Organization is going to be their Snopes or their Washington Post, and they have verifiably gotten it wrong 1, 2, 3, 4 times. No doubt about it. They've gotten it wrong. That's a scary thing. Because we have to trust the authorities, who we know are wrong, and their minions, their lackeys, their toadies won't allow us to get out any other information in the face of the World Health Organization. What do you do with that?
Well,
this is scary. And let me just one other thing. One other thing that really, really scares me here. With radio, okay? And I think we have this, we can bring it up as an overlay. Reg can send it to you. I got a complaint from someone in Germany that it was a violation of German law.
Oh, really?
To this effect. Yeah. So now we have China, the government of China, the government of Pakistan, and I don't know if this was the government of Germany. But back with radio, we used to have to deal with the FCC. Okay?
Right.
And it was kind of a game of cat and mouse where you could say, okay, crap head, but you can't say I took a crap. Silly rules, but we sort of would play, and, I'd dance up to the line when it was syndicated on radio. And we thought, man, the beauty of new media is we won't have those kinds of censors anymore. We won't have to worry about the FCC. But at least with the FCC, you knew who your enemy was at that point. Now it's actually far worse because you are censored by the outrage mob. Cancel culture just means society at large is the new FCC, and they are far more stringent because you could get away with all kinds of jokes that might be offensive that the FCC didn't care about as long as you didn't say the naughty words. Right? And the problem now, too, I would compare that. We've always been really concerned about our rights being taken away by government. Rightfully so, because historically, you look at the Church of England. Historically, you look at the Romans, you look at the Greeks, you look at the Ottomans, you look at governments. Those were the most powerful entities that had the ability to take away your rights. But now I see, just like with radio and the FCC, the mob is actually far more dangerous. What's far scarier to me than the government's ability to take away your rights is the mob's demand that they do so. Now, I'm not saying that all these people are Nazis. I want to be really clear. But when we often say, how could that happen? How could World War II, how could the Holocaust happen? Well, hold on a second. Is it that crazy of a leap to go from, officer, there's a mom with her son on the swing, get her, take her to jail, take her at gunpoint to jail. Is it that far of a leap from that to, Juden, officer, Jew, someone is in a park with their child and you are going to call the cops on them? That's what's scary to me now. Not that the government does it, but that people demand it. The power of the mob is intensely terrifying to me.
It is, and you have to make sure that if you're somebody out there, you have to speak against those kind of things, right? You don't just sit by to the person who called the police and just let them get away with it. That's socially not okay. I don't care if you're trying to stop what you think is a 10% killer pandemic. Okay, we have rights, we have liberty, and if we give that up in this case, it's going to be taken from us forcibly later on down the road for some other.
Well, the point is,
problem.
it's being taken right now by a mob of people.
It is.
Bring that up
there.
Are
Karens everywhere.
Gibbon. So this was the tweet. Can you read the tweet? I can't exactly see what my tweet was, but this is an official complaint from someone in Germany.
Yeah, it says, "Hello, we have received a complaint regarding your account at S. Crowder for the following content."
The tweet,
The tweet text is, "It's becoming clear that It's becoming clear that scarier than the government's ability to take away your rights is the power of the mob to demand it.
Okay, and that was and then they said it wasn't in violation with German law, but typically that usually comes from an official when they recognize when they actually say it's not in violation of the law of this country. Which, by the way, Twitter, you can bring that down, is not a good enough standard. Twitter. I don't give a shit if it's a violation of German law, Chinese law, Pakistani law. You shouldn't be abiding by their laws.
No.
You should be abiding by the laws of the country that you founded. Because if your goal is to open up democracy and dialogue for everyone, you can't be beholden to China's law because guess what? They're murdering Hong Kong protesters, okay? Guess what? They're silencing and disappearing act whistleblowers. It's not enough to hide behind the law. You don't get to do that. You're an American company. That's the law you obey, dummies. All right.
Yeah.
Well, whether it's the FCC or the mob or just the general culture, it doesn't have any power if it can't get inside your head. So the only power that we have right now is just to not let that culture pull us.
Right.
So the censorship culture, the culture of self-censorship, where you're constantly having to second guess yourself or self-censor yourself, that's the culture, and you don't have to let that in your head.
Right.
Well, and a lot of the show does that. A lot of the show pushes back on the restrictions, right? I think there's sometimes where we do stuff that we wouldn't otherwise do because we're pushing back against these restrictions, going, no, I wouldn't necessarily always do this, but you said I can't. You don't have the power to say that, so guess what? I'm going to do an apology video of every offensive thing. You know what I mean? Exactly. But you're pushing back on the restriction.
And I'm sorry, guys. I sincerely apologize that I said, no way there's 2.5 million dead. That's full. I apologize that I said that several months ago and never walked it back. I am sorry. I am deeply sorry. I know how troubled you are. So, here's another one. Speaking of which, just let's get to something, and then we'll have Pops Crowder with a great story from his days back in Detroit. But I love this. This is, it's not necessarily something that you have to know this morning, but I want you to take it, put it in your chest pocket, and take it with you for all your days until Wednesday, where we have another story like this for you. Jeff Goldblum was on. Is this show? Is it RuPaul's Drag Race?
If it's not that, then it's
some kind of a drag queen.
RuPaul,
Which
RuPaul in it.
I don't really know what a drag queen is anymore, honestly. When you consider that transgender, they don't go through. Most 90% of them don't get the bottom surgery.
Right.
They don't get the top surgery. They don't go through hormone replacement. They just identify as a woman and they dress like a woman.
What's the category? You gotta have
a drag queen just dresses like a woman. So I don't know. How am I supposed to know?
It's a moving target.
Self-identity, man.
And I have a story about a drag queen
heavy,
actually
man.
at a burlesque show with my wife. I'll tell that after. But
Okay.
Edge of my
I'll
seat.
tell it now.
Edge of my seat.
Please. So it was my wife's idea. By the way, burlesque
You can't
dance.
say that and not tell the story.
I will tell you the story. Burlesque dancers. Hold on a second. WHO says no evidence so far that contracting coronavirus makes you immune to second infection.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Well, we don't know that. That's true. But we do know that for at least a couple of months.
Let me ask this question. Historically, does it typically mean that you have a better chance of fighting off a second wave?
It means
of
a
the
better
virus?
chance.
Yes.
It's not true with all viruses.
I know, but they had to phrase it in the worst possible way.
I know. WHO is a bunch
Sorry.
of corrupt liars, and YouTube come at me. So. I think we might go a little bit late today, but my wife's idea was Valentine's Day when we were in Grand Rapids, Michigan, to go to a burlesque show.
Oh.
Imagine my surprise. Now,
okay.
I found out that burlesque
risque.
show, it's basically, there's strippers who didn't make the cut.
Oh.
It's strippers with
less
too many
talented.
tattoos, and it's like, it's rockabilly strippers.
Okay.
So, they put on a little bit of Tiger Army and go out there and shake whatever's there. And, no one's the wiser because it's alternative. So, anyway, it was really gross.
It's art.
And there was unfortunately this lady who was a burlesque, and she had nipple pasties, what do you call pasties?
Pasties? I don't know.
She had them on. And it was really unfortunate
put a
because she was
pasty
one
on
of
there.
those very overweight women who managed to not have any. Like, in other words, she had like the body of a fat woman, but the chest of like
unfortunate.
Kevin James. And so it was like, it couldn't be less
So well
titillating. Yeah. It was just really, really unfortunate.
Oh, wow.
So this is going on. And I'm like, all right, okay, burlesque show. And then all of a sudden they bring out whatever, Desiree, these stupid names that all these drag queens have. Desiree
We all know.
Rhinestone.
Yeah.
And it's this 6'4" looking like black linebacker.
Oh, gosh.
With clown makeup. And this person maybe not be transgender. It was just a burlesque show, and it's a drag and starts singing, like lip syncing something. I don't even remember what it was because I just didn't want anything to do with it. And then takes this little, what do you call this, with like the boa?
Boa, yeah.
There you go. I knew you'd know that. So boa. And starts going out into the audience.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And makes a beeline for me. Now, my wife, and at the time, a couple of friends were there, and they're laughing. They think this is really funny.
Yeah.
And to the point, like, this sort of, drag queen singer could smell it on me, like, oh, this is going to be funny. I'm going to loosen him up. but it ended very quickly because I didn't give a face like, oh, I'm shy.
Yeah.
This person came up with the drag queen Rhinestone, whatever. Desiree Rhinestone, I think might have been the name. Something along those lines. It could have been desirable jewel. I don't know. Desirable topaz. Yeah. Sexy Ruby, take your pick.
It's already out.
But comes out and starts, doing the happy birthday, Mr. President to me. But it stopped. So, and I'll tell you exactly why. This person could read on my face, and the whole room got uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this. This person comes out with a bow and me, something like this, like. Oh.
Yeah.
No, what happened was this person made a beeline to me, coming out happy birthday, starts pointing at me, and the audience starts going, woo! Clapping. Yeah. But my face, once this Desiree Rhinestone came up, my face wasn't like, my face was like this. Apparently my wife described it afterwards. I was,
this shit.
like so disgusted that
why am I here?
He just did this kind of trailed my shoulder and went on to the next guy.
Yeah. I'm talking about the one behind
you. My wife said it was only funny because the whole audience like, woo! There's go on to the next one. This is there could be a hate crime.
I've seen you walk out of movies for far less, sir. You should have gotten up and left.
So that was my experience with a drag queen story time. But this was a drag.
They read Where the Wild Things Are. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
We would all sleep in a big pile.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So Jeff Goldblum was on some kind of a drag queen show. I don't know if it was RuPaul or what. I don't want to get it wrong and offend the drag queen community, which I understand is different from the transgender community.
Maybe.
But this spurred outrage from people for being Islamophobic, and it is a combination of wondrous things. Roll clip.
Are you religious, may I ask?
I'm not, and to be honest, this outfit really represents the importance that visibility for people of religious minorities need to have in this country.
Isn't this an interesting wrinkle, though? Is there something in that religion that is anti-homosexuality and anti-woman? Does that complicate the issue? I'm just raising it and thinking out loud and maybe being stupid, but what do you think?
I think, drag has always shaken the tree, so to speak. And there are so many different layers to this presentation. And if it was ever going to be done, this is the stage to do it.
It's a complex issue. I have my own misgivings about the way that LGBT people are treated in the Middle East. And at the same time, I am one.
Well, no, you're one here. Over there, you'd just be, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
He says that like he's coming out. Like, we know.
Yeah. By the way, you're also
I am one.
You're also in whiteface. So don't think that just because you toss on a dress and a couple of sparkles that you get to appropriate.
That's the interesting.
My non-existent culture, because let's be honest, I don't really have one. But I just love Jeff Goldblum. Oh, and isn't this an interesting wrinkle? And it seems that you've had to use some double-sided tape because a penis finds a way. And it's so funny. He doesn't even realize that he's stepping into the Twitter hate mob.
He has no idea.
It's entirely logical.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a reasonable question. No one would have batted an eye if this person came out and said, I'm Mormon. They would be like, oh, well, how does that work when you're part of a very conservative,
Right.
They would have brought up, what was it?
Well, it's not Islamophobic. It's completely accurate. It is it's Islam accurate, right? It's exactly what their religion would do to this person if they were in that country. He's like, huh.
Well, here, let me be really clear. Some fast facts here. Obviously, like the Bible, the Quran condemns people of Sodom for their homosexuality. So I want to be really clear.
Right.
Now, that's a little bit different that the Quran doesn't outline specific punishment, but we've talked about this before. You look at various hadiths, penalties for homosexuality ranging from beatings to life imprisonment to being thrown from buildings.
Right. They'll beat the gay out of you, they think.
Yes. Here's another one. Saudi Arabia. Recently, they just beheaded 5 men for being gay. And Iran and Yemen also hold homosexuality is punishable by death. So you can find the most red state you can imagine. Go on down to Idaho and find me someone there who's going to throw 5 gay men off of rooftops. That's a slow week. For Yemen.
It's a big wrinkle.
But you're mad with Jeff Goldblum for bringing it up.
Right.
Yeah. when he says, "Huh." He didn't even.
Isn't this an
say that.
interesting
He
wrinkle?
Just asked the question like, "Are you practicing in this religion at all?" And he's like, "Huh, that's really interesting that they would do that."
He just inquisitively asked a question.
I'm surprised that you're
Cancel him.
not dead.
How did you make it out?
Well, for some reason, it reminds me of there's some UK liberal Democrat politician doing fasting during Ramadan.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does this person on RuPaul's Drag Race and the politician fasting during Ramadan, what do they think they're doing?
Yeah.
Like, is this helping them in some, like, is this helping
Identifying with
Muslims?
culture?
Really, they're just taking on the religion and acting like it's some kind of comment.
Right.
Yeah, well, I would have a lot more respect if they would just come out and say, yeah, it's pretty much a hellhole over there right now. They kill anybody they think might be gay.
Well, this is also the idea of these people are, and these people, I mean the LGBTQ AAIP community, are bullies. Now, what do I mean? They pick a fight where they know someone can't fight back. They put on an American flag burqa with rhinestones as a drag queen / transgender, something they would never dream of doing from their homeland that they identify with as a religious minority or from the Middle East. They do it here in the United States so that they can belittle, character assassinate, denigrate people like Jeff Goldblum for bringing up a totally fair question.
Yeah, right.
That's a bully. They know that they have the pulpit here. They are doing something. They would never punch up and do this in the Middle East. They would never go and do that in Iran or Yemen or Saudi Arabia, but they'll do it here in the United States and bring the Twitter mob with them against Jeff Goldblum because why? They know that there are no repercussions for it. They know that there's no accountability for it. You go do this in the public square right now in Palestine, in Yemen, in Saudi Arabia, in Pakistan. Hell, you know what? Do it in Qatar. See how it ends up for you.
Well,
Just
Jeff
record
Goldblum,
it for us, please.
Jeff Goldblum gives us something like reason in this whole scenario. And then the person, the guy in the burqa is just like, you know what? I had my stupid thing I wanted to do. Jeff Goldblum, isn't that good enough for you? Please.
Well, but
can I just do my stupid thing?
But
he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know why he's doing what he's doing.
The guy said, you know, I don't really like how they're treated.
Well, why don't you think about that?
It seems like nobody was offended. Jeff Goldblum felt like he was wading into really unsettled waters and was like, I don't know, am I being stupid here? And they're like, no, you're not. But now the Twitter outrage mob is like, no, we are offended for this person, even though they aren't. We're reporting a crime that was committed against them that they don't even think happened.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me why this is a thing.
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me.
No.
I just thought that was. But I know we have to offer. I just wanted you to see that clip.
It's
the whole setup was for the clip.
Because you can see he starts off thinking like, oh, I'm a clever guy.
Yeah.
This is insightful.
Yeah.
And then as he's talking, he immediately wishes he can take it back. Like, oh, isn't this a clever wrinkle here? And his brain's going, no. I mean, maybe I'm stupid. Scrotum? You have a wrinkly scrotum. No.
That's
where I was going.
This is not going to end well.
Been real.
Has this already been posted on Twitter? It has. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so he thinks he's being woke, but he's not woke enough for everybody else.
When you get woke in the woke.
Which is amazing. He's not woke enough in trying to bring up the idea. He's trying to protect people like that from being crucified.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a sport over there. You can hit like 5 bullseyes in a row. People work out to throw people off of a building.
They decapitate them
It's
before the
terrible.
soccer game as a warm-up act.
How do you get the crowd going?
That's the middler.
Exactly.
The MC comes out as their national anthem. I don't know exactly what it is. And then the middler is with a sickle.
Now onto the real show. Soccer.
Exactly.
And then on the real show, soccer. And someone
Shut
does
up, Wade.
At halftime, if they kick the drag queen's head into the net, they get a free Slurpee.
Oh, wow.
$1 off on hot dogs, everybody.
And Shaq always misses those drag queen head penalty
Does it
kicks.
on purpose.
By the way, we're going to bring out Pop Strider in a little bit. Hit the notification bell. Hit all notifications if you're subscribed on YouTube. The subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. And if you can't be bothered to do that, we just have new videos that go up every single weeknight at the YouTube channel, Steven Crowder, 8 p.m. Eastern. And please do consider joining MugClub this entire month. The rest of the month, promo code quarantine, $30 off. LouderWithCrowder.com/MugClub. And the last day is going to be Thursday, big old live stream. But now, actually, a lot of you have said you would love to hear some more stories from my. Hold on a second. Wait. Look at Pop's
Hold.
So, raised in Detroit proper. And when he's been on the show, you guys know him, you love him. So it's time for some stories from Papa Crowder.
Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player.
mask. Don't take off the mask until you sit down.
Jeez.
Oh, jeez. I had no
Silly.
idea
The
how
hard
short that
back.
was.
Yeah,
All right, there you
exactly.
go. I appreciate it.
Well, it's the copyright law.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Father. I appreciate the flagrant disregard for the. Hold on a second. Hold on. Someone else.
All right. Well, hopefully this is going to be a good story here. I have no idea if we're going to hear anything good or not.
How the technology
You really
works.
got Dave.
Wow. This is like showing your parents how to use an iPhone for the first time, right?
Headphones you can hear.
Now you push the button, son, right?
Before we go into a story with my father, do we have one more chat? Maybe my dad can answer one chat.
there we go.
Router.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we got one more
I don't
chat.
know, but I
This
had
one
to follow the
comes.
tranny spot. I think you stuck that.
You can't say that on YouTube, but you
Hey,
might need to
yeah,
angle
you're
that
in
more
his
toward
band.
you,
I'll
Darren.
fix it.
Audio Wade helps
Closer
us.
there.
The audio guy's right here.
It's my fault.
He's right there, but it's really your fault because you just need to talk into where the microphone is.
Oh, I see how that works.
Did we ask Bernie Sanders on the show or what?
The more you can hear.
Huh? Why'd I stop? You played Joe Biden in sketches. You aren't actually.
True.
All right, let's see
I'm
a
feeling
chat here.
uncomfortable.
All right, so this one comes to us from Tower Cube.
Tower Cube.
Good morning,
Wow, you
MugClub.
paused on that one. Like,
My question for you is simple. What's going to happen in North Korea now that Kim Jong-un is MIA? How does this affect the West?
I don't really know that it affects the way. What concerns me is, I will say this, because of sort of I guess sort of the what I'm trying to think. The turbulent waters with
There you
China,
go.
shall we say, and their
was
relationship
tasteful.
with North Korea.
Yeah.
It does worry me that this is happening right now. But I was elated to hear that Kim Jong-un is actually the most alive and well person.
yes, he is.
There is. That's what they
Yes.
released as an official press. And from what I understand, you were telling me
alive.
That was overshoot.
You think you've seen living people
Yes.
before.
Yes.
Didn't you say his sister is worse? Isn't that the deal? She might actually.
That's what I've heard.
I don't know who's following up behind him, but I do know the doctor that the Japanese newspaper said called him obese. He's done.
Oh.
Didn't know how to
sure.
operate on
On.
obese men. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoops.
They
That
said he
guy's
was very
in.
all
nervous.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that adipose
Well,
stuff.
it seems to me I can put in a stint if I can find it.
The
I can hear it.
very, very fat.
Perfect health. Perfect health.
There's so much of Dear Leader.
I haven't operated
More
on
to
pork
love.
cadaver since my residency. So now it's almost like having a frog with a cotton ball. It's been a long time. Long time since I've done this.
But I'm sure he's dead, and he's fat. So
Very fat. Yeah.
I've heard that his sister might step in, which
Yeah.
I have no. She's apparently. He was worse
She
than
looks
his father.
scary.
Yeah, he was worse
He
than his
didn't
father.
sound worse than his father initially, though. Like everybody thought, all right, maybe he's going to be a little more moderate. And
No, he wanted the fame.
killed the uncle.
His dad wanted
you
to
know.
be, a little more. His dad wanted to be Suge Knight, and he
Yeah.
wanted to be like Tupac.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. Yeah.
We all
Hear a
understand
little
that.
ghetto gospel. Those who
Yeah, Suge Knight's way
will to
worse.
fire on me.
This is a
Just
reference.
welcome with
yeah.
my hand.
This is a reference for our audience.
Yes.
This-
Hold on.
Are these famous people?
He wanted to pull the strings behind the scenes. His dad and Kim Jong Un wanted the notoriety, so he was willing to try and be more brutal and develop a reputation. And then, if potentially, let's say his sister, then you have a girl in North Korea who's trying to prove something, and she has a lot to prove because they're treated like crap.
Well, I mean, does she like Dennis Rodman as well?
I have no idea.
I really hope so.
Guarantee you, he'd take a crack at her.
Probably has.
Wow, that's why he went over there in the first.
Come on, let's be honest.
about?
You
Just
think
in with
this
the
guy
sister.
wouldn't? You think this guy wouldn't like to have an oon on his bedpost as a notch? Talking about a guy who has Carmen Electra, Vivia A. Fox, and Whoopi Goldberg. This is not a guy who discriminates.
It's a wide swath
Madonna.
there. You're getting all of them in
Madonna,
there.
right?
Yeah, you know what though? I don't know how much. Whoopi. You go Carmen Electra to Whoopi.
Maybe he just did to see if
The
he
list
could.
starts to fall off a
Yeah, it
little
does.
bit.
It's like I get like not having a type.
Look, man, I was in a slump.
But how about one? But how?
We all got them times, you know.
You know, it was hard. It was
drunk.
it was tough, man.
It was right after
I'm
Sister
lonely.
Act.
Just stop it now.
How Rodman got his groove back.
This is like Sister Act era Whoopi, right? I don't know.
Well, I don't know that helps.
I don't know if it's pre or I don't know, but gosh.
I'm trying to help the guy.
Think about that for a
Detective
second.
Rex?
You're one of the best basketball players of all time, and you're getting Ted Danson's sloppy seconds.
Oh, blackface.
Cheers.
It's true. I forgot about that. Ted Danson. Oh, my goodness.
So we do have to get going. We will see you obviously tonight. We'll see you tonight. What do we have? We have Life Advice tonight, and then of course tomorrow we have a full normal show. Dave Rubin's going to be on the show.
Ooh, yeah.
And then more Good Morning Muck Club. But Papa Crowder, people have been saying they want to hear some of your stories, and I kind of touched upon this briefly before, but I wanted you to be able to tell it. So first off, set the stage for people who don't know. You were raised in Detroit.
Born in California, raised in
Oh, that's
Detroit.
right. We're in Sacramento?
Born in California on an Air Force base. Came to Detroit before I even knew it. So
Right. So what
my
were you,
whole
about
life
a year, 2 years?
Year.
And was it Detroit? Was it Mount Pleasant? Was it?
Not a suburb.
No way. Okay.
No way. The D.
The middle of hell.
Oh, wait, before this, I want you to tell, before I go through this, so Detroit, but we'll go back to it. Tell them the story that you told me about the guy at Kroger.
Oh, that's a okay. All right. Just yesterday, I go to Kroger, and it was about 40% people wearing masks a week ago. Okay. Now it's almost 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And employees, patrons, everybody's walking around in masks. And I go through and I do my self-checkout at one end. Coming out of the store, everybody's got masks, and at the self-check at the exit is a guy about 6'6", 300 pounds with a lit stogie in his cheek, scanning his stuff with a hearty screw you to all things out there.
A series of decisions.
Just tucked back in there, and he's just letting it, like a mosquito chaser.
And when you told me that, I said, wait, where was this? Inside Kroger.
Inside the store.
Inside Kroger?
Smoking a stogie.
He brought the cigar with him, stuck it in the cup holder,
and
drove to
Steven said, there are so many statements being made.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's a guy who probably had a fight with his wife and was just looking for someone else to come at him. You ever had those moments where you have a fight with your family and you're just out there and you're like, all right, I don't care anymore.
Bring it.
Someone, I don't care.
I'll get milk and eggs, honey, but I'm taking my stogie, damn it.
Lit cigar, and no one said a word, you said.
No, he was a mountain of a man. He didn't care. Yeah.
There's no stopping him.
I scan this, chucking it in the bag. Didn't care.
I want to meet that man. Okay. Yeah. So you were raised in Detroit proper, and then...
I'm always on for the Detroit bits. Everyone.
Well, no, I just wanted people to know. So you were raised in Detroit because a lot of times people say they're from Detroit, but they're not really from Detroit. Right.
No.
And then you played hockey at a very high level, and you played at U of M, and you were...
Very high level.
Got a scholarship. And then his uncle, my uncle played hockey, but not nearly as a high level. But when you were young... Your older brother, my uncle, played hockey. And you were both pretty athletic. I mean, back then it was unheard of for people to be training and living the kind of life that you did. You were very into it.
That's true.
And then
It was a focus. I wasn't a guy that played a lot of sports. I played one as best I could. So I prepared for it. Yeah.
But then, he says that. But then I remember we went to the batting cages in Grand Bend, Ontario, and we had some people there. Family, friends, lovely, but they did baseball
wrong.
They did baseball not professionally, but they played very high level ball. Oh, okay. And my dad was like, "How do I what?"
Yep.
So he's being humble here.
Yeah,
I didn't get any of these athletic genes, by the way.
He kept them all for himself.
He kept them all for himself. So, but he was very
he
good
says that, but other kids are maybe into Little League Baseball or football or whatever. Steven wanted to do stand-up when he was 4.
Yeah, I know.
He's doing Seinfeld impressions.
That was a flop. So,
but he's great at jiu-jitsu. He doesn't brag on himself enough. I will. Everyone knows. He's high level at that.
But even Brendan tore your biceps.
I'm getting uncomfortable here.
So anyway, but the point is, so you were doing this, and then contrast that with your father. Let people know about your dad to set up this story. Your dad was not an athlete.
They didn't play sports. He had to go out and earn a living, right? And he was career military.
Well, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, he didn't.
He had to fight world wars.
No, he was a career fighter pilot. That's all he ever did. And you want me to tell the story about when he came home one day?
Oh no, but tell us the story about your dad. Like in general, he was a guy who didn't exercise at all, didn't play sports.
6'2", maybe 230, 235.
Smoked.
Paunch, smoked, of course.
Drank,
sure.
Drank a lot every night.
Guilty.
He was at the Admirals Club, the actual Admirals Club.
No,
the
real one. The Officers Club.
The Officers Club
at the base.
At the base where you would have several whiskeys, sometimes before flying.
He claimed he was a better pilot after a scotch. Now, I would tell him the science is against you. I'm better, I'm sharper. Air to air, I'm on my game with one scotch. So he was... So this is what's flying over your head, folks.
He was flying every day. Yeah. He wasn't a guy who was training pilots. He was flying every day. He was a full colonel, very high level. But again, I just want to set the stage. Now, contrast your brother at the time. How old?
Older brother, about 18, and so he's playing junior hockey, and he's really good. He's pretty high level at that point, and just very athletic.
Very angry too, because he had a late growth spurt.
Yeah. He had a small man's complex and a big guy's body. It's a bad combination.
What did he say in his driver's license?
At 16, he was 5'6", 130, and he was lying about that, an inch and 10 pounds. And so by 18, he's 6'2", 195-ish or so. Playing junior hockey.
So fast, but still acting like the guy is being knocked around as a kid.
You can't do that to me attitude, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So my dad comes home one day from the base after a day of flying, and who knows at the Officers Club how many scotches. And we're out playing in the neighborhood. All the kids are out there, and it's kind of like picture Sandlot. Kids everywhere, hanging out. And my older brother probably shouldn't have been playing with the younger kids, but he was out there, kind of cocky, the big bully in the neighborhood. So he's out there. The old boy comes home. I think he was driving the red GTO at that time. And he's wearing what pilots call the green bag. You guys wore it during the sketch, the Top Gun sketch.
Yeah.
One zipper up the front, pockets on the legs, and in those pockets goes your keys, your wallet, your change, whatever. But so
your whiskey rocks.
So your lower legs are encumbered with all your stuff. You got patches up here, but don't carry a lot up here. So he comes, piles out of the car, and my cocky older brother says, because we were racing up and down the street, "Hey, old man, let's see what you got." My dad crushes out a cigarette. He's about 50 at this point. Full colonel, just left the officers club, crushed out a cigarette, who knows how many that day. And he lines up, and they say, "From here to that car," which is, our street wasn't that long.
Well,
so it
hold on
wasn't
a second,
100
but
yards.
there's also, what shoes was he wearing?
Oh, of course, combat boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, flight boots. Yeah, a little bit different, but
track
flight
shoes.
boots.
Yeah, track shoes.
Wearing flight boots.
And my brother, you got to think an 18-year-old boy is near his peak, right? He's probably
high-level hockey player, athletic,
great shape,
weight training.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they line up, and my brother goes into some silly track stance or something at the line. And, he's all ready to explode.
Effeminate garbage.
Yeah. And the old boy just kind of, as I said, crushes one out, stands in line and says, "Someone say go." And he takes off. It wasn't even close. He beat my brother by at least a house and a half. Not big lots.
Wow.
So moked him.
Wow.
And every kid in the neighborhood. But he knew how to handle the dramatic. He didn't come back and fist bump or beat his chest. He just walked off into the house. It was just so glorious.
Lit up another cigarette.
Such a thorough beating.
Such a thorough beatdown, and witnessed by the whole neighborhood. And all you hear is this jingling of keys and change as he just takes off down the street. And
then your uncle, my uncle, so your brother didn't ask for a rematch.
No, humiliated. Totally humiliated.
Durst not challenge him anymore.
No.
Well, thank you so much.
It's boring for anyone else, but in the family, it's a funny story.
These are the stories that I always love.
Cinematic
Next time we'll have you tell the one where you got a dart put in your head and you tried to lock yourself in the bathroom so that he could keep it in his head until his parents got home.
I'm following pasties and tranny jokes with that. I think it's a bit of a
Transgender
comeback.
Thank you
individuals.
so much, everybody. We will see you tonight. And of course, use the promo code quarantine at lettercredit.com/MugClub. You get $30 off. We hope that we've been of service to you. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you tonight.
Ooh.